Indeed, over the past few years, the American society and American citizens discovered a whole new reality in which it turned out they lived. Of course, for the great majority of the people, it was unimaginable the fact and actually the scale of surveillance that is directed at them, over them. And of course it had been striking for the international community as well. What is also noticeable and very noticeable is that with all the discussions that had been going in the United States on the restrictions on surveillance of American citizens, there had not been one word said against restricting their surveillance practices as far as the foreign citizens are concerned. You know, in a way, indeed, it's up to the American citizens to allow their services the degree of surveillance, but the civilian foreign citizens, not suspect, but just regular people, are under full surveillance according to the current American laws, and there had been no restriction, no talk of restriction in all these years.
A new secret air force for intelligence gathering on the go. Reports say at least scores of low-flying planes are being operated by the FBI across the U.S. for surveillance purposes. The aircraft were found orbiting both major cities and rural areas, and different from planes in the past, they are now equipped with high-tech camera and occasionally technology capable of tracking phone conversations.
The scale of surveillance that we are observing now in the United States is nothing that can be compared to the practice of any other state. For the great majority of the people, it was unimaginable the fact and actually the scale of surveillance that is directed at them, over them.
The latest revelations have caused a backlash among Americans, with many raising questions over privacy.
There are a lot of things that I think people say on their phones that they probably are just joking, but ends up getting them flagged for.
You think innocent people are getting snared in this?
Sometimes. Certain words get flagged on certain things.
It's a fine line to sort of toe. I can understand the arguments for, but I think that they need to be taken with a grain of salt and a lot of skepticism, and I think that the appropriate oversight needs to be in place. There needs to be congressional oversight over the information that's being monitored.
In the short term, I am not convinced that all of the collection methods that we've instituted and all of the retaining of records, I'm not sure all these things are crucial.
The massive U.S. surveillance programs were first revealed by former NSA contractor Edward Snowden, who said freedom in the U.S. is under threat. Though Washington says the bulk collection activities are aimed at thwarting terrorism, analysts point out that these efforts are far from fruitful.
Does it make America secure? Well, the proponents of such extensive surveillance say that, well, there hasn't been one terrorist act in the United States. However, for example, the marathon bombing in Boston, this tragedy took place. It turns out that the agencies had information but just didn't put the pieces together. So this is definitely not a panacea, and it doesn't prevent the tragic events.
For NSA Director Keith Alexander, agencies need to collect the haystack in order to find a single needle. But observers say the government should work with, not against, citizens to stamp out potential terrorist activity, and the overly extensive surveillance is not only highly inefficient, but would also erode public trust.